Hey, we're live. Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm here with Jay. Jay Phil is going to do comms for me. Jay is the world's leading expert on this video game and actually wrote the route that I use for the speed run. So um, he knows everything there is to know about this game and this run. But this is Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly. You don't need to know anything about Fatal Frame 1 to enjoy it. It is very scary, but we're going to beat it really fast, which makes it significantly less scurry. So here we go. So game opens with like the only actual glitch in the entire game, which is a movement glitch. My character was already walking there at the very beginning. Ordinarily, you can't start moving until a few seconds after the game loads up. Um, but if you start holding your joystick forward during the loading screen that precedes it, it lets you move a little early. That's literally the only glitch in the entire game.
I've heard about this place.
And I'll let Jay take it from here.
A long time ago, there was a village here that disappeared.
Hello, everybody.
People
I'm
get lost in the
not going to
woods
be
and
mostly
trapped by the
talking lore,
village.
but I'll try to get the good speed
It's
tech
big
in
old
too.
place.
So right now, this game is about twin sisters, Mio and Mayu, and what we're going to be playing is Mio for like 99% of the
Seen it
game.
before, but
And the idea is that when they were little kids, they used to play in this forest all the time. And the forest is about to be wiped out by a dam that's being built. So they decided to go back and revisit it one last time for, nostalgia's sake. And while they were there, Mayu saw a crimson butterfly and started chasing it, and Mio chased after her. And now they found themselves here in the Lost Village. And the Lost Village is full of ghosts. Most of them are trying to kill us. It's, not great. And for the moment, we're just kind of on the plot's rails, uh,
Mio,
following the footsteps of another woman who disappeared here, looking for her boyfriend, and kind of setting up the mood and the stakes for what's going on in this game. It's not a whole lot to say about actual gameplay yet. We're just going to be kind of following her around, finding her diaries and stuff, until we stumble upon the camera, which I'll talk to about when we find it.
I wonder if anyone's really here.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice sort of introduction to the game. It serves as kind of a tutorial section. Um, and yeah, like Jay mentioned, we're sort of following the footsteps of someone who kind of found themselves in the same situation as we find ourselves now, which is unique because the vast majority of the ghosts we encounter are locals. They're from the village, and this lady is not.
Something's strange about this place.
So right here, we're actually getting the camera obscura. The premise of the Fatal Frame series is that you use a camera to fight ghosts, and it's kind of based on the idea that when you take a picture of someone, it steals part of their soul, sort of myth. Um, so we'll be using it both for combat and for exploration purposes. So coming up pretty quick here, we'll see a point where you can take a picture of something in the environment, and it might give you a clue about what you need to do to proceed. Or sometimes there's kind of like a variant of the key and lock idea where you'll take a picture of a door that's sealed up, and it will show you a photo of somewhere else, and then you go to that other place and take a picture there to unlock the door. So for example, here, yeah.
So yeah, that door. If I tried to go through that door right now, I wouldn't be able to. It's sealed.
Right. So one of the other things you'll notice is, of course, we have an NPC partner here in the form of our twin sister Mayu. It's easy to look at this game and think, like, is this going to be escort mission the game? And it's really not. It's there's a few reasons why, but all in all, I think they do a pretty good job at making Mayu feel. It does a good job of kind of making you want to protect her, but it doesn't make her feel like a burden. I mean, it
Yeah,
kind of does,
you
but in a
feel
good way.
responsible for her.
Yeah. Um, Fortunately, we don't actually have to worry about her too much throughout the run. Um, so even though the game kind of wants you to slow down and let her stick with you, because you'll notice she's actually slower than you are. She walks with a limp because she has a damaged leg. We're not really going to worry about that. We're just going to kind of go where we're going, and whenever we open doors, she'll teleport to us anyway.
Mio, look.
And this will come up later as well, but it's lucky because Mayu's invincible, so even when we do run into aggressive ghosts that will attack Mayu in addition to you, um, they don't do anything. Oh, that was bad.
That's kind of a halfway glitch called stair skating, where if you mash the run button as you're going upstairs and in kind of a certain cadence, you can bypass the walking individual step animation, and it's a little bit faster. It's actually considerably faster if you do it properly, but it can be kind of tricky timing.
Yeah, this game does a really great job with the walking upstairs animation. They don't just treat it like, you know, a level surface, but at an angle. It actually animates individual steps that you walk up. But as a result, it's much slower than actually walking places. Where are you? There you are.
So we've got our first glimpse of combat. So we're taking pictures of the ghost. Whenever the circle in the middle of the screen is kind of a lit up yellow, that's basically a normal chip damage shot that's, does some damage but isn't worth a whole lot. When it turns red, that's called a zero shot or a shutter chance. And that's kind of the critical hit of the game. Typically, you get these opportunities when a ghost is starting to attack. And if you hit them during this point, it will do a lot more damage and it will knock them backwards. And that's the Miyako fight.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy boss fight.
Yeah. Yeah, so those rules are generally true for across most ghosts. Miyako is one of the few where we just kind of take whatever shots we can get of her. For the most part, against most ghosts after this, we're going to try and only do zero shots because we need that kind of power to shot efficiency. We only pick up so much film, which is the camera's quote unquote ammunition in this game, and we really need to get the most damage out of each shot that we can.
Yep, you can run out of ghost bullets. Although you won't. About worst case scenario, if you use your film very inefficiently, because there's multiple types of film, and basically the higher the number of the film, the more damage it does. And if you use the powerful film really inefficiently, worst case scenario, you end up using really weak film. Jeez, on really strong ghosts, and it just takes a really long time. But the weakest type of film, by the end of the game, you have, I think, literally 95 of them, which is more than enough.
So Mayu has just gone off on her own for some reason, and we're now chasing after her. You may have noticed there was a very brief kind of grainy black and white section where we were playing as her, which kind of serves to show us where we're supposed to be going next. So now we're going to try and catch up with her and see what's happening here.
There she is. And watching the speed run, you don't. Jay's here and will do an excellent job of kind of keeping people caught up. But just watching the speed run, you don't get any sort of sense for the plot because I skip all the cutscenes. Plus, there's so much lore and extra plot strewn about that isn't strictly necessary that you can pick up in forms of like people's journal entries and things like that. And we just bypass all of that because I already know what happens, so I don't need to read all that.
Yeah. So Mayu just went through that big gate that we started out in front of, and it's locked with 2 keys. And so now we need to go find them, but we have no idea where to look. So we're going to follow these crimson butterflies and see if they have anything interesting to show us. This is the first time Mayu goes through a locked door that we have to find keys for. It will not be the last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in addition to the, doors that are sealed via ghost magic that we have to take pictures of, there are also literal locked doors. Hi, Emma. Thank you.
Yay!
So now
If
we're
you
meeting
cannot
our
find a way to leave the
alive
village,
question
come and
mark
find me.
friend
I may be
Itsuki.
able to help.
He serves as kind of the pseudo hint system of the game. We'll be visiting him a couple of times because it is required that you visit him at a couple of points in order to trigger an event flag to progress. So right now he's told us that the 2 keys that we're looking for are hidden underneath little statues that are spread throughout the village. And there's actually quite a few of these, but fortunately the ones we already know because we've played the game before, but in addition to that, the ones that we actually have the keys have crimson butterflies hovering over them. Haven't really talked about it yet, but the crimson butterflies sort of serve as the guardian spirits of the village, and so they're mostly going to be serving as kind of helpful figures for us throughout the game, guiding us where we need to go.
Yeah, it's
ignoring. Go ahead.
Well, and like Jay said, we know where to go. We know where everything is, obviously. Casually, this game can be pretty long if you don't know where you're going and if you kind of get lost. The village is not big, but it's very full. There's a lot of stuff in this village. And there are locations in the village that we will not even bother visiting in the speed run. Not very many, but a couple. So it's really easy to get turned around looking for something that you just cannot for the life of you find. They do a good job with that.
And so you'll notice we've encountered a few ghosts that we've just run away from in this chapter. There are a lot of scripted encounters that aren't mandatory, and in this chapter in particular, we're actually not going to fight anything. Pretty much all of the ghosts in this game, or not all of them, but ghosts tend to be kind of slow, and the ghosts that we encounter in this chapter particularly tend to be extremely slow. So for the most part, we can literally just run through them. And upcoming here is the only real case where we have to kind of put some effort into a dodge.
I totally almost didn't forget this key. Definitely didn't almost just completely forget to grab it. Nope. Who would do something
And
like that?
there it is.
Yeah, to get past that particular ghost, because most of the random encounter or even scripted encounter but non-mandatory ghosts are really, really slow, and their attack animations are really slow, so you can just run right past them. That specific one that we just avoided, you have to just kind of move in a very precise way. You have to sort of hug along the wall as you run past him. But assuming you know what you're doing, you should be able to get past no problem every time. And now we're through the doors. crossing the world's longest bridge.
Be hearing somebody saying some stuff. We're just not going to worry about them right now, or ever.
Oh, hello, lady. I wonder who that was, and whether or not she'll be important.
So for a routing thing, we have to route our film/ammunition. There's also these items called spirit orbs, which we need to upgrade our camera. We get points from fighting ghosts. But we also, we use those in conjunction with spirit orbs to do upgrades. Throughout the game, we need 7 upgrades and thus 7 spirit orbs. And that one we just picked up is one of the few that we have to go at all out of our way for. Most of them are pretty much automatic drops. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually do the upgrades. But that's just something that's important to be considering when you're playing through, is that you get all of the ones that you need.
Here's another very short control Mayu section. Hey, it's this lady again. If y'all aren't familiar with this game, I really do recommend picking it up and playing through it casually, because it is fantastic and terrifying.
Oh yeah, this is one of my absolute favorites. It's a very, very good horror game.
That might be literally the only non-mandatory encounter that I actually fight. Reason being, it's I use it to farm points for upgrades.
So this ghost is invincible and also one hit kills you. So you don't want to let him do that.
Yeah, we're gonna run.
It's really, really, really easy to die the first time you encounter him in this room. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go back through it a couple of times.
There's a stair skate.
Nice.
I'm playing this game on a PS2 emulator because the load times are a little bit faster and it's a little bit brighter, so it's easier for people to see. I own it on an actual, like the actual PS2 hardware as well, and using the PS2 controller. Stair skates are not hard for me. I get the rhythm really easily, but I'm using a PS4 controller on the emulator. And for some reason, the stair skates are impossible on the emulator, so don't expect to see very many of them. Oh, did I miss? I just missed. There we go. So here's another sealed door.
Everyone's dead. Should they really want to run?
Such a creepy laugh.
And so we heard our sister in there, and maybe heard something else in there too. So we're going to want to find that key real fast. We're coming up on I guess it's the second fight of the game, and one of the harder ones. Honestly, it might be the hardest one to do well.
Yeah. This is without a doubt my least favorite fight in the entire game.
Yeah, definitely same. Holding my breath here. Okay. This is also where we're going to start doing upgrades. So there's basically three, really only two, but kind of three stats that we care about. The very first upgrade that we do is in accumulation, which will, upgrading that, it will allow us to use special lenses. And we're about to pick up the blast lens, which increases your damage output whenever you use it. Besides that, all of our upgrades are going to go into sensitivity and into the blast lens itself. Just to say, we are basically gearing our camera for all damage output all the time. And that's
Missed me.
probably enough points. Yeah. And we start with these two to get blast set up and start improving our damage, and then everything else from here is going to be sensitivity and blast.
A little bit too slow to get that second ghost. So what makes this fight really difficult is there are two ghosts. It's a very confined space. And they are very different ghosts. One of them moves really slowly. Dang it. But has a lot of health. And the other one moves really quickly and warps around a lot, but doesn't actually take very long to kill.
So I talked about zero shots before, and you'll notice now that he's doing what are called fatal frames. So typically you get a fatal frame chance within like a smaller window within a zero shot. That's not always the case, but just kind of a general rule of thumb. And when you get a fatal frame, the first hit does the same amount of damage a zero shot would, but then you can combo it, so you can actually hit the ghost up to 3 times. This is by far the most time-efficient way to deal damage to ghosts, so we generally want to go for those when we can. But that's also part of what makes this fight in particular so challenging, is when you take the time to set up a fatal frame on one of the ghosts, that gives the other ghost an opening to get you. And even if they don't deal a lot of damage, them interrupting you still, takes a lot of time and is frustrating.
That was not bad. That was okay. I will take that.
I'll take it.
That fight can go real sideways, real easy. Alright, back through the murder room.
Okay. This part still honestly scares me.
Yeah, stair skates.
That about wraps up this chapter.
Yeah, we're almost at the end of chapter 3. There are 9 chapters in the game.
Did you find it, Zuki?
Ghost.
And it's our sister.
Familiar about the smell.
Right, we are reunited with Mayu, and now we are going to try and get out of this house. Before that,
More upgrades.
so this ghost is Woman in Box. in a casual playthrough, you would probably have encountered her in her signature box, but this speedrun skips that particular fight. She is pretty frustrating when you have to fight her casually, but her gimmick is that she has really, really brief vulnerable windows and is invincible pretty much the rest of the time. Once you get used to those windows, however, she's actually one of the easier ghosts in the game. So this fight in particular is basically free.
Yeah.
Once you have that, you know.
If you have moderately good reaction time, it's a really easy fight.
I hear something. 2 chosen children shall be carried to heaven on the wings of a butterfly. A butterfly that will save this village.
Nice. 14
Nice.
seconds. I'll take it.
The 2 chosen.
That's the hardest puzzle in the game. There's a whole bunch of puzzles you have to solve. That one is the only one that takes more than like 5 seconds.
I've never been any good at the sliding block puzzles. That one's kind of merciful because you only have to get 2 things to the right place, but
Neo, wait.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible at like actual sliding block puzzles that I can't just memorize the configuration of. Awful. Awful. So now that we have Mayu back, we're treated to just increasingly creepy background dialogue. Mayu is the queen of just saying discomforting things.
we're skipping a cutscene here where previously we had seen the main antagonist of this game, Sai, in this room, just laughing her head off and having a really good time. And we just skipped a cutscene where Mayu like charges to where Sai was standing and stands there and just kind of glares menacingly. And it's just really apparent that she's getting kind of unhinged from being here, and it creates kind of an interesting situation because you're trying to, protect and save Mayu, but also kind of don't like being around her.
It's really effectively done. It's a completely genius storytelling tactic, and they do it really, really, really well because you want so badly to take care of and protect and rescue Mayu, but also you really just want to run screaming the other direction. She's so creepy. Mayu is not okay.
Here we're just triggering a couple of little events so that we can get a key that's caught in the cobwebs in the ceiling above us. There you go. I jinxed it.
Hey, come on.
This is the place that we are in right now is the Kurosawa House, which is the presiding family, the mayor.
Yeah. If the mayor of your town were also like the religious leader, and the religion was a cult, then that's that guy's house.
Yeah. So this is where we start learning more about like what the village is and what happened here and why is it like this. So throughout this section of the game, we're going to basically learn that in this village, they performed what is called the Crimson Sacrifice, in which twin siblings, one twin murders the other twin.
Very wholesome.
You may have noticed that Mio and Mayu are twins. So they have an additional reason not to want to be here.
Mm-hmm. And previously, Itsuki, the white-haired boy that we met who was locked inside of a house, referred to Mio as Yae. And all of these ghosts that we encounter kind of act very familiarly. They treat you with familiarity. There we go. Ah, gross. So yeah, we wanna leave. I want no part of any kind of sacrifice. Because I think there's a case of mistaken identity going on. They think that we are somebody else.
So we don't really know the details yet, but we know that the last ritual didn't go right for some reason. And so the ghosts are kind of mistaking us for the sisters that failed, and so they're trying to get us to get it right this time, basically. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to get it right this time because that would involve one of us killing the other one. That would really suck. So we don't want to do that.
Unless
Mio.
If you're part of the #HeckMayu club.
I'll neither confirm nor deny co-founding that club.
And Jay mentioned Sai earlier. Sai is one of the sisters that took part in the ritual where it all went wrong. Sai is the woman we've seen a couple of times wearing a white kimono with a red stained front. I'll give you 3 guesses as to what that red is, and the first 2 don't count. We'll see more of her.
So right now, we very briefly went into a room that had a locked cell. And now we're looking for the 2 keys to that cell, the light key and the shadow key. We just got the shadow key, and now we're going to trigger an event that will let us get the light key. And triggering that event involves getting Mayu to stand on this pressure plate, which takes forever.
Yeah, because Mayu is so much slower than Mio, especially when it comes to climbing stairs. Oh, hey, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, nice.
There's honestly, I'm fairly convinced there's a little bit of RNG there, because every now and then it takes Mayu a very long time to climb up the stairs behind you. So you're just standing there waiting on her for quite a while. But every now and then, you get lucky. And this is one of many examples of literally just triggering a plot flag to proceed. I walk into this room, I walk forward a little bit to cue a little cutscene, and then I leave, and that's it. All we were doing.
That guy we heard was talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
That voice that we just heard was talking about the Kusabi. The Kusabi is the invincible ghost that we encountered earlier. He's, for all his kind of pomp and circumstance, he's actually not that relevant to the plot. Basically, there was in addition to the Crimson Sacrifice ritual, there was also the Kusabi ritual, which they would use kind of in case of emergency, whenever their Crimson Sacrifice ritual needed some time. He's just also a big bad scary ghost, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Oh. I got really, really close to triggering this camera. So this is one of... You go.
If you enter this room while that ghost is talking, then you get into an extra fight with a veiled priest.
Yep.
And
so you can
the
take
extra fight is bad, but
Yeah, you
Go
can
ahead.
take a couple of steps in, as long as you don't trigger the camera changing its perspective. There's actually there's another place where we'll do that as well. I think there's just two things that are. It's literally just an audio cue. All I have to do is wait until that guy stops talking, and then I can walk in. And there's one more of those later.
So this is a point where Mayu's getting attacked, and we're just gonna let her basically.
Uh-huh. Because as soon as I reach the door that I want to walk through, Mayu just gets warped to me. So it doesn't really matter that she's getting mauled right now.
If you do this fast enough, then you can, even though there's a second ghost there, his AI doesn't really start
If it
yet,
was to
so you can just run right past him.
Mm-hmm.
you should have done it.
Otherwise, you have to dodge him, which is kind of hard to do.
I knew
Yeah, I don't mind dodging him, except for the fact that it takes time. It's just a waste of time.
Sisterhood. Exactly. Okay, so here, speaking of sisterhood, this is where that kind of starts ramping up. So, door shut behind Mio when she was walking out, and now Mayu is stuck in that cell. Need to find a different key to get her out because it's technically a different door that's shut and locked behind her. But when this happens, Mayu is freaking out, and understandably so. Mio, has to leave her in order to go find the key, and Mayu just says, like, no, stay with me here. I don't want you to go. And we have to leave her, defenseless and alone in the cell while we go try to find the thing to save her. Which, feels bad, man.
And the
But
game
also,
what am I doing? The game casually does a really, really good job of making you feel guilty for leaving her. My casual playthrough that I did of this recently, I just stood there for several minutes just feeling awful about the fact that I had to bail on her. It does a really, really good job of it.
the other thing that happens is during that scene, there's a flashback to when Mio and Mayu were children, and they were playing in the woods, and Mio started running ahead of Mayu and kind of taunting her, like, you better hurry up or I'll leave you here. And Mayu was, panicking and begging her to slow down. And in her desperation to catch up, Mayu slipped and fell into a ravine and broke her leg. That's why her leg is still, wounded even now. And that, just completely altered what their relationship is. And Mayu, of course, feels super guilty, and that even kind of projects onto the player, like Ryan was talking about. And so Mio is having to, pseudo abandon her sister again at this point, with the intent of coming back for her, of course. But it just, again, it just does a really good job of setting that up. And
running
um,
away.
yeah, trying to restrain myself a little bit from gushing too hard about how good that scene is.
It must have come.
So here's Sai again. That's who we were just kind of following. Sai just sort of pops up around the map every now and then. A lot of the time, like right there, she was completely harmless. I don't have to worry about running into her at all.
Here, Yae.
Back to Itsuki.
Don't give up.
And that's it. Itsuki's a really great character, and I feel really bad that he's just sort of like rendered to exposition machine, because he's got so much more to offer than that.
That's essentially the last time we're going to visit him. I guess we kind of go back one more time, but that's the last time we go to him to, like, get a hint.
Yeah.
And this is, again, mandatory. The game won't actually let you solve this upcoming puzzle unless you've talked to him first.
Mm-hmm.
So the key to Mayu's cell is in the basement of this house, which you may recognize as the one we started out in. Also taking a brief detour here to get our Type 0 film, which is the strongest film in the game, but is also extremely rare. We're going to be getting 5 uses of it in the entire run.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier the weakest film, Type 14. I think you end up with like 95 of them. Yeah, we'll have 5 of Type 0. It is a much more valuable resource. And we're gonna save all of it for one guy, pretty much.
Must have been connected at one time. Connected to somewhere.
So we're going to get the key here, but it's also going to trigger a fight. This fight looks mandatory, but it's actually not. You can just nail on him. That is one of the mourners who we'll be seeing more of in just a minute.
And surprise, Miyako! Silly Miyako.
It's going to be... Alright. Yeah, every now and then Miyako, where she spawns is random, and every now and then she'll appear in that hallway that you're running, and there's not really a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah, you just have to tank the
Fortunately,
damage.
she didn't do that today.
I really love that part, though. You open the door and she's standing there. It's about... Honestly, that's about as jump scary as this game gets. Is opening a door and there's a ghost there.
Yeah, it really doesn't have a whole lot of that. Most of the ones that are there are like ones that you basically already have to know about in order to find them in the first place.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple little jump scary type things that are in like cutscenes, but for the most part, this is a very atmospheric horror game. Speaking of, I really love this chapter because of the music. Again, you feel really guilty because you've left Mayu behind and you don't want to, and Mayu is like mad at you for leaving her there defenseless, locked in a cell. With no, magic camera to protect her. And the music sort of lets you know about it. It makes it sound like the village is angry at you. It's really, really good music for this chapter. I love it so much.
So we're coming up on a fight with not one but 2 mourners. The mourners have 2 gimmicks. The first one is that they are blind. So they will very slowly but surely approach you, but if you make noise, they will approach you a lot faster. They're actually pretty fast when they want to be.
Oh gosh, there he is.
Yep. The other gimmick to them is that if you hit them with a 0 shot or complete a fatal frame on them, they will retaliate by using a series of kind of swipes, and that each individual swipe doesn't hurt a whole lot, but they tend to, if they hit you with one, they're probably going to hit you with all the rest too. And I guess that about sums up what's to say about them.
This fight usually goes pretty quickly. If it goes bad... Oh dear.
Nice.
Cool. If it goes bad, it goes really, really bad, though. I'm gonna... Just for safety purposes, since we're doing a marathon right now, I picked up a couple of healing items, which are not mandatory, but might as well make use of them since I got them. You do not
In that
you do not
particular,
regenerate health, you know, in between chapters or as you go, which can be tough.
and the particular pickup that Ryan gets, it's 2 healing items in one spot, and it's like literally he doesn't even have to move off of his path to get them.
Yep, all I have to
So
do is
it's
press the
yeah.
pickup button when I walk over them.
Hey, look, he's not here anymore.
Shocker.
So we're gonna see an or again, we're skipping it, but there's an interesting scene here where we witness Yai and Sai, who are the twin sisters who were supposed to perform the ritual however long ago. We see an image of them running away from their sacrifice, and as they were running away, Yai started running ahead of Sai. Sai called out, begging Yai to slow down and wait for her, and Yai did not slow down. And in her desperation to catch up, Sai slipped and fell into a ravine and was recaptured by the villagers.
Sound familiar?
Yeah. So now we know what went wrong, and long story short, the villagers went ahead and sacrificed Sai anyway, even though Yai was supposed to be the one to do it. And because it wasn't the twin killing the other twin, the basically there's a pit to hell underneath this village that they call the Hellish Abyss, and the Crimson Sacrifices are meant as a way to appease it, to keep keep hell from spilling into the real world, basically. And because they flubbed the sacrifice,
It went ahead and
didn't
spilled.
work, and yeah.
And because hell has a sense of humor, what happened specifically was well, okay. So Jay mentioned the kusabi, which was the break glass in case of emergency sacrifice. I always refer to the kusabi as the amuse bouche. You ever like you have lunch and dinner's not until like 7, but at 4:30 you're really hungry. Oh jeez, it's about as close as that dude's ever gotten me before. Well, okay, so the pit to hell was like really hungry at 4:30, so they were like, all right, well you can have some Ritz crackers, except the Ritz crackers were a human being, and that's the kusabi. So they threw in this dude who was not from the village, and then later they threw in Sai, and the pit spat them both back out, and they went postal on the entire village. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong direction. Which, I mean, you can't really blame them. Like, hey, you threw me into literal hell. I'm going to kill everybody now. It seems like a valid reaction to me, personally. So now we're chasing after Mayu again, because she wasn't in her cell where we left her. That bit where we go back to Mayu's cell, because I don't know how she gets out. She was locked in that cell. There's only one key, and Mio has it. How did Mayu get out of the cell? I have no idea. It's never addressed. It always reminds me of in the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson, right? The only thing that ever happens in The Shining that is explicitly supernatural. Now, that's not the case in this game. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's explicitly supernatural happening. But the only thing in the movie that ever happens that is explicitly supernatural is when Jack Torrance is locked in a walk-in freezer and he can't get out, and Wendy and Jack are like trying to get out of the hotel, right? And then there's like a ghost voice that talks to Jack and opens the freezer. And I've always been fascinated by that specific scene, that somebody helps Jack out of the freezer. I want to know who helped Mayu out of the jail cell. Anyway, I digress. We are in another house now.
This is personally my favorite chapter. I don't know how many other people feel that way. This is a isolated-ish little plot segment, but it's got some really interesting things going on. You'll see that there's these two little girls running around, and we're about to get very familiar with them.
Extremely. So again, this is in keeping with the twin motif for the whole game. We got more twins.
We're coming up on our first fight with them. So the trick with this is that, and I'll get into the plot reasons for why, but one of these twins is real and one of them is fake. And you can, there's a couple of ways to tell them apart. It's really difficult to do casually.
That's the real one.
Where you at? When they spawn, they will say, "Why do you kill?" And the real one has a higher pitched voice than the fake one does. So that's one of the tells that you can use.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I didn't
GG.
even need the third one. Okay, go.
And got the skip. Also nice.
I think I got it right.
I think I heard the unlocking door noise.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I flipped through that dialogue box real fast. I'm gonna assume I got it. Anyway, yeah, that fight can take a really long time. That went about as well as I could have hoped.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and the thing I was just
sometimes
wondering
only-
about whether or not I got, I unlocked that door there, and ordinarily when you unlock the door, you also open it, because why would you ever unlock a door without walking through it? Except in this case, we don't. And there's a lengthy animation for opening doors. Exhibit A. And if you do that fight in just a certain way, you can unlock the door without opening it and walking through it. And I'm pretty sure we managed to do that. There is an outside chance that it's still locked, which would be a problem.
So, trying to figure out where to start here. What's happening in the current day story is we saw Mayu walking into a house that is connected to the house that we are in, and there's she was walking across a bridge on the second floor that connects the two houses, but if we tried to follow her, the door she went through would be locked. So we have to find a different way, which is an underground passage that we can access from this house. But the mechanism that allows us to get underground is broken. So that leads us to the actual story of this house, which is that there were twin girls, Akane and Azami, who were forced to perform the Crimson Sacrifice, and Akane killed Azami. They were like, I mean, based on how old they look, I mean, they were probably like 8 or something when they had to do this.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah. So Akane was understandably really struggling to get over that, and her father is a professional doll maker, and so he decided
The creepiest
his
of
infinite
professions.
wisdom, yes, that he was going to create a doll that looked exactly like Azami, the dead twin. And brushing aside how questionable a decision that was to begin with, the doll got possessed by some other, like, generic unknown evil spirit, and it started erupting Akane and turning her against her father. And the father realized what was going on and tried to take the doll and throw it into the hellish abyss. but Akane broke that mechanism so that he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we don't know for sure what happened after that, other than that obviously both Akane and the father ended up dying too. And that's what happened in this house.
So yeah, quick recap on
So
that.
right. Mhm.
Quick
Go ahead.
recap on that. Akane killed Azami, and then Akane was sad because she killed her sister. So their dad made a doll that looked like the dead sister. That doll got possessed by random malevolent spirit. Evil spirit corrupted living daughter, and now they're both evil. So when we fight the twins, you're not actually fighting the twins. You're fighting one of the twins and the doll, which is why you can only attack one of them, because the other one is just a doll. But then here, when I see a ghost right in front of me, boom, that is Azami. That is the twin who was sacrificed, and she is helpful because she's not evil. So she actually helps me out. She's standing in front of stuff that I need to collect. It's messed up.
Why do you kill? Why do you
God, they're creepy. Oops. But why only fight the twins when you can fight the whole family? Which is what we're going to do in a minute. Hey, turn around. Thank you. I swear the hardest thing about this whole speed run is just the movement. The movement's a little finicky, and the number of camera angles and how frequently the camera angles change makes it really hard. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So now we're gonna fight the dad. This fight's actually pretty easy, usually. Where are you? Gosh darn it, where are you? I spoke too soon, didn't I? There he is. This guy just kind of warps around the room. It's really, really hard to get zero shots on him. Because, honestly, the fight's a little bit broken. It is possible, although I've never actually done it, it's possible to just blast him out of the playing field and end the fight really quickly. But for the most part, he just kind of stands there. Eventually, he will start picking up dolls and throwing them at you. Did I get it? Yeah. But if you can kind of keep him on his toes well enough, that just never happens. But yeah, now he's kind of halfway out of the playing field. Oh, okay, here we got dolls. Cool, and now he's dead. So yeah, it's kind of a long fight, but it's really not hard. But the reason it's not hard is because it is a little bit broken. It's not really supposed to go exactly like that, but because we kind of get him into a sort of half out of bounds state, it goes by fairly uneventfully. It's supposed to be a lot more complicated than that because there's supposed to be dolls flying everywhere, which, if you let him get to that point, it does make the fight pretty difficult. But what are you going to do? And now we're almost to the end. There is one more doll twin fight left, but it's not in this chapter. It actually comes later. Oh, no, I'm a liar. There is one more. There's two more left. There's one at the end of this chapter, and then one that comes much later. But first we have to solve a puzzle. Bloop. So, same as before, we just gotta wait on the real one. And that is not the real one. And this is RNG. It's possible for the doll to show up, I mean, theoretically, an infinite number of times, but... Oh, where are you? Sorry, there you are, thank you. Ah, I missed. Darn it. So I got kind of lucky there. I got the real one on the second round, but sometimes you get 5 or 6 before the real one ever shows up. Okay, now we got both of them. So now it's just a matter of... You kind of have to guess. Okay, guessed wrong. So here's the real one. Boom. And there's that fight. That wasn't bad. I am guessing, based on the lack of input from Jay for the last few minutes, I lost him. So, not sure what happened there. Hopefully I didn't lose everybody else. Or I'm still live, right? Anybody still here? I sure hope so. I'm just gonna keep playing like I like I am.
I kept waiting and waiting.
This is the best part of the game right here. Having that issue. Okay, thanks, Ted. This is easily the best part of the game. And it's a shame that we can't get the full experience because we're going to skip through cutscenes. But what just happened, Mio went through this tunnel here. And while underground, Sai showed up. And Sai, like the Kusabi, is both invincible and will one-shot you. So we have no choice but to run. And there's a cutscene where Mio, while she is running away from Sai, drops the camera. So I don't have the camera right now. Not that it would actually matter because, again, she's invincible, so the camera doesn't do me any good. But I am especially helpless. I am extra defenseless because I don't have the camera.
Open the door.
And what's happening right now is Sai is just chasing me through the house. That's why it's black and white. The game turns black and white anytime the Kusabi or Sai are in the vicinity. Or when you're controlling... Whoa! Or when you're controlling Mayu. What's especially creepy about this section... you're not entirely sure whether or not Mayu is here. At first, you saw Mayu because we know Mayu went into this house. That's what we were doing. That entire previous chapter was trying to find a way into this house. So we finally got into this house. Mayu was here at one point. We assume she still is. And then we saw her. We saw her walking ahead of us. But then when we called out to her, and she kind of emerged from the shadows, it was not Mayu at all, it was Sai. And that's when we ran. So we don't see Mayu at all during this chase sequence, but we do hear her voice. So there's one of a couple of things happening. Either Sai is doing an impression of Mayu. Why she would do that, I don't know. Or Mayu is out there, even more defenseless than we are, because she walks with a limp, so she just doesn't move very quick. With Sai, because we know Sai is out here. We've seen Sai. So it is very, very spooky and creepy, and again, really plays on the emotional attachment you have to Mayu, because you really want to, every time you hear Mayu's voice, you want to go and see if that is in fact Mayu. But also, every time you open a door, Mayu's not there, but Sai is. And it serves to kind of emphasize the point that the line between Mayu and Sai is getting increasingly blurred. Because, spoiler, basically what's happening to Mayu is she's just kind of getting possessed. And it's Sai who's doing the possessing. Which is why she's so extra morbid and creepy and spooky. There's a ghost we're going to ignore. So now what we're doing is we're backtracking. We made it out of that house and escaped Sai. And now we're back in the house where we fought the twins. And we're back in this tunnel that we went through just a few minutes ago. And on the ground in front of us is the camera. So we can arm ourselves once again. Got the camera, got the flashlight. Now we can go back into the house. And continue the hunt for our sister. And you'll notice it's not black and white anymore, which means that Sai is not here anymore. Which is nice. I know I always prefer it when evil murder ghosts aren't in the same house as me. Maybe that's just me. Got another sealed door that we're going to go through. Alright, here we're going to pick up... This is essentially a one-up item that we just got. It's the Phoenix Down of the game. That's a safety item that you don't always pick up, but for marathon safety purposes, we're going to grab it. So we are on the hunt for our sister, like I mentioned. Now we're venturing further into the house. The plot of this area revolves around a girl named Chitose. We actually, if you were paying really close attention, we saw Chitose once earlier as we walked by outside and we passed by the exterior of this house. We saw Chitose inside of the house in an area that, like, there was a wall that had kind of fallen apart. Chitose was... Hang on one second. We got a little bit here coming up. Boop, boop, boop.
I'm sorry.
All right, we found Mayu. But Mayu's in that room and the door is locked, so we can't get in. And then the ghost that disappeared, that is Chitose. Chitose is the younger sister of Itsuki, and Itsuki's twin brother, because, spoiler, Itsuki was also a twin. Everybody in this game is twins. And Chitose was supposed to be part of the grand escape plan for Sai and Yae. One moment. Why not? She was supposed to hold on to a key. Come on, look up. She was supposed to hold on to a key, and then when someone came to pick it up, she was supposed to give it to them, and that was going to aid Sai and Yae in escaping. Oh, hello. But instead, when that person came to pick it up, she hid. Because she was just scared of strangers. That was a good fight. Because she was a little kid, and strangers are scary when you're a little kid, so she hid. And that threw another wrench into the escape plan, essentially. That bit's not really important, but then when this is the really dark part, when the sacrifice occurred and the village people, not the band, threw Sai into the hell pit, and then Sai popped right back out and just started murdering everybody. Sai did not murder Chitose because Chitose, once again, hid. She's a very good hider, which is what we're doing right now. Basically, this whole section is just one giant game of hide and seek. So instead, what happened... Oh, shoot. I missed. Whatever. Instead, Chitose hid, and I think the implication is that she starved to death, which is not fun to think about. What makes this fight kind of difficult is I can only attack her when she's looking up. And when she looks up is essentially random. Gotcha. Oh, sweet. And that did it, too. So these fights can really, really drag out. Oh, come on. There we go. I tried to open that door a little too early. These fights can really drag on. It is possible to not even have an opportunity to hit her for 5 or 6 rounds sometimes. Both of those first 2 went pretty well. And there's 3 rounds, so we're on to the third phase, the third fight with Chitose. This one's the longest. She has the most HP during this one. And this house is really big, so if you don't know where Chitose is hiding, the fight can actually... Oh, gosh. It can take a really long time. Oh, did that not count? All right. Because you have to search the entire house looking for her. Which is annoying. But, again, fortunately... we know exactly where she is. Ah, darn. I'm getting shots in at her, but I'm not managing to get fatal frames. And fatal frames are the only shots that allow you to combo. There we go. That right there. Okay, we got lucky there. She has the ability to, with her cry, turn the lights out in the entire house, which is annoying, because then you have to fight her in the dark. Cool, she's dead.
Get me back, my father.
Oh, you know what? I'm going the wrong way. I changed just recently a tiny bit of my route. Because now what we're doing is we're just making our way back to where Mayu was, the locked room that Mayu was in, because now I have the key. And I decided that taking this route was just a little bit faster. Because you can get there a couple different ways. This is a little bit quicker. And I just changed that really recently, so I almost muscle memoried the wrong direction. And, surprise, surprise... guess who's not in the room where they're supposed to be? So, yet another room that Mayu was in with a locked door that she somehow got out of. Someone explained to me how Mayu is so good at picking locks. Fortunately, during that cutscene, she shows back up, so we get our sister back.
Hurry! We need to get to the old tree.
And what we learn during that last chapter... Whoops. 23, cool. Give me one sec. 42. I'll do that. What we learned during that last chapter is all of the information we need to escape the village. So now we know how to get out. Basically, what we found out is there is a door in a shrine at the top of this hill that will lead to a passage that lets you out of the village. And that is how Sai and Yae were originally planning on escaping. And then obviously did not. But in order to unlock that door, there's a little lever inside of this tree that must be pulled. So we need to get in the tree, but the entrance to the tree is sealed. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. But yeah, we need to get into the tree and pull the lever and then escape. Sounds easy, right?
My leg.
Spoiler, it's not. Because there's still 2 whole chapters left.
Am I alive again?
Hey, Jay's back. Welcome back, Jay. Jay, you
I'm
missed
so sorry about that.
you missed
I'm not
pretty
really sure what
decent.
happened.
You missed pretty decent Chitose fights. It did not go badly at all.
Oh, awesome.
And the Sai chase scene that I love so much. And I think, based on how well this run is going, because this run is going pretty well, actually. We've had good RNG, and we've had good fights. This is certainly not, like, a world record run. Which, if anyone is interested in learning this speed run, it's a lot of fun. It's not hard to learn. And it's really not hard to do. You can kind of sleepwalk through, you know, most of the movement portion of it. Don't plan on getting the world record. The world record is untouchable. It is more than 5 years old, and it is more than 5 minutes faster than second place. The way we time this run is in-game time. We don't use RTA. So the timer here on the screen is for my own timing purposes and nothing else. You report in-game time to the leaderboard. Because after you beat the game, it tells you what your in-game time is. It's almost like it was designed to be speedrun. Anyway, now we're inside the tree. But it's crazy fast. I don't know how they did it. And no one will ever touch it. Anyway, what was I saying? We're in the tree now. And Mayu promptly fell asleep once we got to the tree. So we are once again leaving Mayu behind. Fortunately, she doesn't go anywhere this time, thank goodness. But we got into the tree where there is this lever that we need to pull. Say what?
I was saying she seems a little more okay with it this time.
Yeah. We're into the tree where this lever needs to be pulled so that we can take the back door out of the shrine. But in order to get to the lever, we need some tokens. I mean, keys. Think of them as keys, essentially. And we need 3 of them. And we need 4, actually, but we already have 1. So we need to get 3 more. So we're going to run around the village now, collecting these tokens. But first, we're going to pay Itsuki one more visit. Hello, Sai.
Before the festival, I want to meet you again.
Anyway, I'm going to stop talking so much now since Jay is back. Wait, my favorite part! Oh, I didn't get to see it! I wasn't walking closely enough. If you hug that wall right there as you walk past that stable, there's a disembodied set of legs that just walks past, and it makes no sense, and I love it.
If I can save you, I'm sure my brother will forgive me.
Got it.
So we finally made it into the storehouse where Itsuki is, only to discover that he was a ghost the whole time?
Dun dun dun!
So he has a whole bunch of diaries and stuff in his cell, basically spelling out his involvement in helping Yai and Sai escape, and getting a little more into his tragic backstory.
Yeah, I mentioned that he had a twin that he performed the ritual with, but I didn't go any past that.
Okay. So basically, we learn that his ritual with his brother actually failed, and
He still
because of
killed his
that,
brother.
yeah, yeah,
He didn't kill him good enough, I guess.
yeah. For um, when they kill the sibling turns into a crimson butterfly, and for whatever reason, that transformation did not happen. So he feels doubly guilty because not only did he murder his brother, but nothing good even came of it. And so, part of the reason he's so hell-bent on helping Yai and Sai escape is because they're the ones who kind of have to go up to bat to salvage the fact that Itsuki's ritual failed. And so he's trying to help them escape because he cares about them to begin with, but also because he doesn't want them to have to suffer for his failure. And that kind of translates to him trying to help Mio and Mayu escape now as well. So yeah, he had a really hard time of it. And it's kind of like Ryan said before, he's a really good character, but I wish we got to see more of that side of him, and less of the hint bot side.
What is especially tragic is it's heavily implied that the reason Itsuki's ritual failed is because he loved his brother too much. Because apparently, you're not supposed to like each other. In order to have an effective ritual, you can't be friends. And because Itsuki's brother Mutsuki was like his BFF, it just didn't work. So he killed his best friend, and it was all for nothing. Which is so messed up. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. I say with a grin on my face.
Right. So his kind of last instructions that we found both in his cell and in his room at the end of the last chapter are that we need to find these 3 key crest whatevers. And there's a map in his cell detailing generally where they are. And again, we don't actually have to go look at it because we already know where they are. We cell to trigger an event flag to make them spawn, and also because there's type 0 film in there that we want to get. So we just got one from the woman in box, and now we're going to have our last fight with the twins, as if there's one set of twins, in order to get the Kiryu one. And casually, I definitely thought you had to fight them in that tiny little secret room, and that was not fun.
Fairly certain you are fake.
Yeah.
Come on. Here's the real one. Sweet.
Yeah. You're doing really good on film.
Yo!
Yeah. GG.
Good fight. Usually I'm not able to get a triple combo on that, which means that I have to take at least 2 rounds of the twins, and it can really draw out. So that was an excellent last twin fight. I'm very happy with that. We should be in good enough time that I think... I mean, yeah, we're at about 123 right now, 123 and a half. I think we should have time to demonstrate the bad ending, which I'm very excited for. There are multiple endings to this game.
Bad ending, right?
Yeah. There's multiple endings to this game, and depending on the version you play, there's even more. There's an Xbox release of this that was like the quote-unquote director's cut that has an extra ending, and then the Wii version, which should never have been made, I think has 2 extra endings. And in this version of the game, there's actually only one ending available to us because we're playing on new game normal difficulty. But if you play New Game Plus, it unlocks an extra difficulty. So if you play New Game Plus on the more difficult difficulty, there's another ending that you can see. That is not the ending I'm talking about. The ending I'm talking about is kind of an Easter egg type thing. It's not actually considered an ending, so we can't do that and then submit it to the leaderboard, despite the fact that it's about 15 minutes faster. But it's very fun, and I like doing it.
I hope we get to see that, but in the meantime, we've got our first and only fight coming up with the Broken Neck Woman. She's kind of an iconic ghost from the series in general, and
Let's go this way.
she's one that you can encounter several times throughout the game and appears randomly every now and then. But in the speedrun, this is the only time we're going to see her.
Which one is it? Is it this
She is... I think it's to your right.
one? Where are you?
The glow
you are.
goes away unless you're super close to it for some reason. The Broken Neck is pretty straightforward. Her entire attack pattern is approach, attack, repeat. But because there's all these gravestones around, it can be kind of difficult to get good combos on her.
Oh, I missed. Well, that's not ideal. Come here, you. How'd I miss? Come here. Ah, missed again. Went too fast. And I'm trying to kind of get this fight in the direction I want to. I'm making my way back to where I need to be, so that hopefully by the end of the fight I'll just be standing right in front of where I need to be. There you are. Still not dead. Come on. Die already.
We also specifically want to end this fight with maximum spirit power so that we can use a blast going into the next fight. Generally don't care super hard about when and where we use those, but this is one of the exceptions where it's pretty important to make sure that you have one ready to go.
Yeah, general rule of thumb is as soon as you have a blast charged, you should use it. Because blasts do more damage, and you don't start recharging your blast until you have used the blast that is charged. But I do the end of that fight with a blast in my back pocket because, like Jay said, I want it for the next fight. I want to go into the next fight with a blast already charged. All right, so we have unlocked the shrine thingy. Oh. Wait, hang on. Apparently I didn't unlock the shrine thingy. There we go. There. I accidentally skipped a cutscene. All right, one sec.
We can get out of this village.
I'm gonna make a save state really quickly. Again, I'm running on emulator. Empty. I'm running on emulator in part because I anticipated this.
If we reach the shrine up there, we can leave the village.
Okay, so the cutscene that just happened showed us approaching the shrine, which we can use to get out of the village, but then ghosts showing up and taking Mayu away. And we know where they're taking her. They're taking her to complete the sacrifice. But we're right there. We're so close to freedom. We were so close. Well, I'm still really close. Just because Mayu's gone doesn't mean that I can't leave. And the game doesn't really expect you to do this. You're supposed to follow Mayu, right? But it lets you anyway. Will you leave Mayu and run away alone? Hell yes. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Heck Mayu. So we'll let this cutscene play out. I love that the game lets you do this.
Same.
I'm sorry. I can't keep our promise. Are you leaving me again?
Don't look back.
Mia, didn't we promise? Together always. Mayu!
Nope. And this is where we started the game. This ravine area before we got lost in the village.
Mayu! 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 Oh, wait. Forever.
Game over. So yeah, it is not considered an ending because technically it is, you lose. It's a game over. You lost the game. So now we'll go do it the right way. Oh, that's weird looking. So, loading the save state that we just made.
Shrine up there. We can leave the village.
Same deal, but this time we're not gonna leave. We're gonna run right past these guys. I actually really like this part of the beginning of this chapter, the last chapter we're in. I'm probably reading into it a little bit too much, but this feels to me like Mio's hero moment. She was a bad sister when they were young, and she is, indirectly responsible, or directly, really, responsible for her sister breaking her leg. She's felt very protective and defensive of her sister ever since. But still, throughout the game, you have had to leave her over and over and over again, and you haven't really had an opportunity to be the good big sister. Well, not big sister, but you know what I mean. The
But
good.
which one is the older sister?
Oh yeah, the good protective sister that you want to be. And this is kind of Mio's. She doesn't need redemption, but redemption, for lack of a better term. It's really excellent. I love the way that it's done. Because we know exactly where Mayu is. I mentioned we know where the ghost took her. They took her to go complete the ritual, and we know where the ritual takes place. It takes place underneath the Kurosawa house. And a couple of times we have walked into the Kurosawa house now, and every time we go in, we take this side door. But this time we're going in the front door. And I don't know, it seems very heroic to me. And that's probably amplified by the fact that this is a speed run, so I'm making a beeline for everything, and we are literally running. Because I could just walk if I wanted to. But we use the run button because it's a speed run. And you're busting down the front doors, and it's one of those, give me my sister back kind of things, and I really enjoy it. It makes me proud of Mio that she's going back for her sister, despite knowing that there's a lot of very angry, very dangerous ghosts between her and Mayu.
One of the things I was thinking about is kind of along those lines is I think this really, so much of this game is drawing this parallel between Mio and Mayu and Yai and Sai. And this is really the point where Mio defies that, because Yai did not come back for Sai. And Mio's just like, no, I'm not about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I really appreciate about this as well.
Yeah, it's the implication and the inference that you make is that Mio and Mayu are not direct reincarnations, but spiritual reincarnations, for lack of a better term, of these these fated sisters that you know had their ceremony go horribly wrong. And Yae was a bad sister. She just like Yae was a bad sister. She did a bad job. And this is Mio proving that she is a better sister to Mayu than Yae was to Sai.
Do this together.
Mhm.
So that was the last time we control Mayu. And there, the ghost there that you see is actually not Sai. The ghost there is supposed to be Yae, finally come back to complete the ritual after all this time, because Sai has just been waiting here for her sister to finally come back.
And speaking of those sisters, we are about to get into the boss fight against their dad. And he is definitely one of the hardest fights in the game, and the one that is, like, speedrun wise the hardest, in the sense that the punish for not getting it right is really significant. Basically, he can summon the Veiled Priest enemies, and when he does that, he disappears. And so that's, you know, a good 45 seconds or so that you're just not making any progress in the fight. So if you get the fast kill on him, and there is a fast kill and it's really satisfying, then the fight lasts less than a minute. But I mean, it can go upwards of 5 minutes if he decides that he's just going to spam that forever.
Yep, and this is why we go into this fight with a. Where are you? This is why we go into this fight with a. There you are. Hey, where'd you go? Oh no, where is he? Where is he? There he is. With a blast charged. Because we want to open this fight with a blast. I can kill him in 4 hits if I get a blast and then 2 regular shots comboed and then another blast. But I need that. I need it to be in that order. There's 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
Cool. Now I have a blast charged, and I will get 1 more shot at him. Boom. That should do it. Yes!
Awesome.
Suck it.
Very, very good.
So he does not get an opportunity to disappear. He doesn't get an opportunity to summon any Veiled Priests. You can actually see him right there dying. That is about as well as that fight can go. I'm happy with that.
Yep.
Ha. Suck on that, Ryoken. And that's not the last boss fight. There's one more boss fight after this. Jay even mentioned, so we've talked about the Kusabi, right? The guy who was the optional sacrifice, who did 50% of the murdering, because he and Sai were both spat back out of the hell pit, and he just went on a rampage with her. Jay mentioned that he's not actually that important to the overarching plot, and that's true, which makes it all the more inexplicable to me that the game picked him to be the last boss. The final boss fight is not Sai, who has been the main antagonist the entire time. It is instead Seijiro, the Kusabi, for some reason, and I hate it. I love everything about this game except for the last boss. It doesn't make any sense to me.
But before we get to him, we're going to have to deal with this, what we tend to refer to as the Mortar Gauntlet. There are 8 of these guys down here, and we're going to try and dodge all of them. You can also take a picture of them and stun them briefly and run past, but I think we decided that's a little bitty bit slower. And,
yeah, you can do 3 things.
Mirror?
You can tank the damage. You can let them hit you, and then after they hit you, you can just walk past them. You can take a picture of them and stun them, or you can try and dodge their attack, and then while they're recovering from their attack animation, you can run past them. Come on. And I think I've decided that dodging them, assuming you can successfully, is the fastest way to handle it.
So that was half of them. There's also one final film pickup in this area um, that's right next to one of them, but fortunately, it's kind of that same thing where it takes him a few seconds before his AI really activates. So it's fairly safe to go and grab it as long as you're quick.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's nice because that's 10 uses of Type 90, and we need like six or seven or so to defeat the final boss. So that last bit is there to basically to ensure that you have the means to beat the final battle. Saijiro is still able to kill you in one hit, and he will kill you in one hit no matter what. Even if you have your stone mirror with you, he just doesn't care.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I picked up that Phoenix Down item, the one up. No longer matters. No longer important.
Yeah.
The amount of health I have or healing items or anything no longer matters. If Seijiro touches me, game over. So, in that sense, it is a very difficult fight. He's not invincible anymore, but he will still one-hit you.
He also regenerates health. Yeah. And so that means that you have to play really aggressively, especially in a speedrun setting, because you want to minimize how much HP he gets to regen over the battle. But that also means, deliberately opening yourself up to these one-hit kill attacks. Even then, he's so slow that it's something you can get fairly comfortable with, but it's still kind of daunting just knowing that the consequence of messing up is you lose.
Yeah, gross. Assuming you have someone's calling me. Assuming you have relatively decent reaction times, this fight goes fine. Usually, knock on wood. But yeah, you have to get right up in his grill to fight him, and oh god. Okay, so that was my last Type 0 shot. So now I'm going to switch to 90, and I got plenty of it.
Part of the difficulty too is that because the environment is all grayscale now, and he's got this crazy I don't even know what to call it that's surrounding him. It does make it hard to see him, and so that can make him pretty intimidating on your first couple of tries too. Just trying to figure out where he is in this mess.
Well, yeah, and he's so big. He's so big.
He's pretty.
I think I got him, yeah. He's so big that it's hard to tell exactly where you want to focus your camera, because not his entire body is shootable. You want to get him right in the head, but it's hard to find his head sometimes. Oh, please don't tell me I missed. Okay. I whiffed on the combo, though. That was much closer than I was comfortable with. Cool. So that's game.
GG.
I still have to do, it's not time yet. I still have to do a couple of things, but there are no more obstacles. We have plenty of time though. We still have 7 minutes, so we're gonna watch these last couple of cutscenes that sort of wrap up the plot, because we got time to do it. But yeah, literally all I got to do now is walk in a straight line, and don't screw up my stair skates. Because remember, we still haven't found Mayu. We're still looking for Mayu. She got by the ghosts earlier. She's in here somewhere. Oh, there she is. Hi, Mayu. Let's go home.
I kept waiting. In a dark place. Shall we begin?
God, she's creepy.
Yai. We were born together. But we have to live and die separately. I knew this. I knew. Mayu. We'll be together. We will. We can't be together forever. But with this, we can become one. So it's all right. Kill me. Why didn't you kill me back then? I've been waiting to feel your hand on my neck since we were just waiting on you. On that day I know. I was waiting. 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 Waiting.
She did. And the assumption here you're supposed to make, because you ask yourself why would Mio actually kill her sister and why would Mayu let her? The assumption you're supposed to make here is that at that moment they are both completely possessed. Mayu has become increasingly possessed by Sae as the game has moved forward. So by the end, Mayu's not there anymore. That's Sae that you're talking to. Mio not so much, but in that moment, I think the understanding is that Mio is also possessed by Yae. So it's not Mio and Mayu performing the ritual, it's Sae and Yae performing the ritual like they were supposed to way back when. It's messed up. So yeah, the quote-unquote good ending of this game is you kill your sister. Congratulations, you win. This is a really good song. I'm going to skip past it. After this, Mio escapes from the village, and this is the ravine area that was flooded. So this is down the road a ways.
Didn't we always promise each other? Together, forever.
And that's game.
Hey,
So this is
134.
the time that I would report to the leaderboard if this were in any way a valid run that I didn't have to reload a save state for. 134 is a really good time though. I mentioned world record for this run is untouchable. World record is 124. So I would have to do 10 minutes better than what I just did, which isn't possible. Anyway, thanks so much everybody for tuning in for this. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoy running this game. It is a lot of fun. And thanks so much everyone for having me. And thank you, Jay, for doing commentary. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me. See y'all around.